Hello. The mission story of June 14, 2025, is coming from Indonesia. The title, Praying for Churchless Town. As a boy, Jerry's childhood was not like most. While other children played in the same neighborhood day after day, Jerry journeyed across the lush, rugged terrain of Papua, Indonesia, sitting beside his father in a weather-worn truck or gliding across the quiet waters in a canoe. His father, a devoted Seventh-day Adventist pastor, had a unique mission, visiting scattered church members and praying over places where no Adventist church yet stood. Each time they stopped outside a town that lacked a church, Jerry watched his father close his eyes and pray softly, "Dear God, please bless this town by giving it an Adventist church one day." To young Jerry, these were simple, almost whispered prayers. But as the years passed, Jerry saw those prayers answered. First in 5 years, then 20. Slowly but surely, churches rose in those once forgotten towns. Faith was being planted like seeds. Years later, Jerry followed in his father's footsteps and became a pastor himself, serving the very people his father had once prayed for. On a pastoral visit to communities around Seventh-day Lake, Jerry was struck by how many of those churches now stood strong and thriving, living testaments to his father's quiet intercessions. But as his boat glided across the still waters one morning, his gaze fell upon a village nestled along the shore, Yoboy. Unlike the others, Yoboy had no Adventist church. Not even one known Adventist soul lived there. Memories stirred. The old image of his father pausing to pray came to mind. Jerry tapped the boatman's shoulder. "Can we slow down?" With the boat rocking gently, Jerry bowed his head and echoed the prayer of his childhood. "Dear God," he whispered, "please bless this town by giving it an Adventist church one day." He didn't know it then, but something extraordinary had already begun. Just 2 months later, a respected man from Yoboy named Thance found himself on a Holy Land tour in Jerusalem. As the sun dipped behind the city walls and a siren pierced the air, Thance stood at his hotel window and watched as life in the city came to a halt. Buses stopped. Shops closed. Streets grew quiet. It was the beginning of the Sabbath. He glanced at his watch. Friday evening. The moment stirred a memory. Back home in Papua, several Adventist co-workers also paused their work every Friday evening, just like the people of Israel. It sparked a question. If the Adventists worship on the Sabbath like the Jews, why doesn't my church? Don't we all claim to follow the God of Israel? When he returned to Papua, he searched for answers. He visited an Adventist church in a nearby town, one that happened to be holding evangelistic meetings. The pastor welcoming him was none other than Jerry. At those meetings, Thance listened with a heart wide open. The truth about the Sabbath spoke deeply to him. Questions turned into conviction. Soon, both he and his wife were baptized into the Adventist faith. And then came the full circle moment. Jerry traveled to Yoboy, not just to pray this time, but to organize a house church right in Thance's home. The prayer Jerry had lifted on the lake had been answered far sooner than he imagined. "I'm very grateful for the heritage that my dad has left me," Jerry shared with a smile. Today, he pastors at Clabot University, continuing the mission that shaped his life. But the story isn't over yet. Now, the church in Yoboy meets in a home. But hope floats on the surface of Seventh-day Lake, that one day, a permanent church will rise there, just as it did in the towns before. As part of this quarter's 13th Sabbath offering, believers around the world can help expand the reach of the gospel in Papua through the development of Papua Adventist Theology College in Nabayar, a school training pastors like Jerry for future generations. Please pray for the people of Yoboy. Pray that the light of truth continues to shine across the towns and lakes of Papua. And may your offering help build not only buildings but legacies of faith.